There are a lot of ways to begin a new project in Illustrator. You can create one from scratch, start from a template, open an existing file, and more. Let's look at how to create a new document to start. With the latest version of Illustrator CC open, you may see this start screen which appears when no documents are open. Yours may look different, and that's okay. From the start screen, you can open existing files and create new files. Whether or not the start screen is showing, you can also always go to the File menu at the top of the screen to open existing documents or to create a new document. Now, to start a new document from scratch, choose File, New. The New Document dialog box appears. And once again, yours may look a little different than what you see here, and that's okay. In this dialog box, you can start by choosing a preset option like Print, Web, or Mobile. So it's important to know before you start designing what type of project you're creating. In this video, you'll create a document for a poster that's meant to be printed, so click Print to show a series of print document presets. When you choose the print preset, other settings like the type of color used and the units of measurement are automatically set to accommodate a print project. After choosing a preset, you'll usually choose a document size. Now, there are several options to choose from within each preset. By clicking View All Presets, you can even see additional sizes here. Select Tabloid, and note that if you choose a preset size like Tabloid, you can always change the size and all the other options after the document is open. You may also see a series of templates in the New Document dialog box available from Adobe stock. These templates can be a great way to learn how Illustrator projects are built, and they can be used to jumpstart a project. On the right side of this dialog box, you'll see a series of options you can set for the document. Now, most of the time we won't have to set all these options, but let's look at some of the options you'll set most. Click to highlight the name and change it to Poster. You don't have to change the name here, but when you save the document later, this name becomes the name of the file. Click Points, and from the menu that appears, choose Inches. These are called the document units. Later, when you want to measure something or look at a ruler, this is the measurement unit you'll see. Now, you can customize the width and height of the document and change the orientation by clicking one of these options. Now, the orientation is actually the direction in which a document is displayed or printed. Click Landscape so the document is in a landscape or horizontal orientation. Artboards you see here are similar to pages in a program like Adobe InDesign or Microsoft Word. You start with one artboard in your document, but you can add more here. You can also do that after the document is created. Now, these are just some of the options you can set to set up the document before you get started. You'll become more familiar with the different options the more you work in Illustrator. Since we've set the basic options we need, click Create to create the document. The new document opens in Illustrator. To ensure that you can see the entire artboard or page, choose View, Fit Artboard and Window. Once the new document is open in Illustrator, you can change the document settings you set when you created it. In the Properties panel to the right of the document, if you want to change the units, for instance, you can click the Units menu. To change the size of the artboard, you can click Edit Artboards to enter artboard editing mode. You can choose a preset page size from the menu in the Properties panel. So why don't you go ahead and choose Letter. You may need to scroll up in the menu that appears. You can change the orientation and a whole lot more. To stop editing these artboard settings, you can click the Exit button towards the top of the Properties panel to exit artboard editing mode. Creating new documents in Illustrator is something you'll likely do a lot. There are many different options to explore when you set up a brand new document. When you're just getting started in Illustrator, keep it simple and know that you can edit document settings like the artboard size later on, the more familiar you become with them. To close this file, you can go up to the menus at the top of the screen and choose File, Close, without saving it. To help you become more familiar with Adobe Illustrator, let's take a tour. To start, you'll open an Illustrator document. With Illustrator CC open, you can open a file by choosing File in the menus above, Open. In the Open dialog box, navigate to a file you have, or you can open this practice file from the downloadable practice files for this tutorial. Then click Open. After opening a document, you'll usually want to make sure that you can see all of the document content. To do that, choose View, Fit All in Window. With a file open, you'll see the Illustrator workspace. Now the workspace is made up of an open document in the document window you see here, the menus above, the application bar below the menus, and on Windows, the menus are in the application bar, the tools panel on the left, and finally, docked panels like the properties panel you see here on the right. As you explore in Illustrator, you'll find that you can move parts of this workspace to have things you use all the time easily accessible, or maybe to show more of the artwork you're working on and fewer tools and panels. So let's explore the pieces that make up the workspace. In the Tools panel on the left, you'll see tools you can use to create and edit your artwork. Some of the tools have a little arrow in the corner, which means there are more tools you can choose from. For instance, press and hold on the rectangle tool here to show more tools you can choose from. Click to select the ellipse tool, and notice that the menu of tools is now hidden, and the ellipse tool is selected. Come back to the top of the Tools panel and click to select this Selection tool. Now this is a tool you'll use a lot to do things like select and move content. Come out to the document and click in this rectangle to select it. Now suppose you want to change the color of this rectangle. If you look in the Properties panel to the right of the document, you'll see options available for the content you select, like its position and size, appearance properties like the fill color here. Let's try changing the color of this object. So click the fill color and select another color to fill it with. You can then press Escape to hide the color panel. You'll also see some quick actions down here. These options change depending on what's selected. You can even click underline words like stroke to see even more options. You can then click away from the panel to hide it. Now the Properties panel is docked on the right side over here with a few other panels called the Layers and Libraries panels. If you want to see the layers or how the content in the document is ordered, for instance, you can click the Layers panel tab at the top to show the Layers panel. To show the Properties panel again, click on the Properties panel tab. If you find that you need more space in the document window to work on your document, you can click the arrow at the top of the dock panels to collapse them. This will give you a little more space to work. To show the panels again, you can click on a panel name to show the panel, and then click on the tab or panel name to collapse it, or you can click the arrow at the top of the dock panels again to show them all. Now there are actually a lot of panels in Illustrator for you to explore. Each contains different options, and they can be opened from the window menu up here. Any panel that has a check mark is open and currently showing. You can see the Properties panel has a check mark. Let's open another panel. So choose Align to open the Align panel group. A group is a series of, in this case, 3 panels, and you can see each panel has a separate tab. This group is called free floating because it's not docked with the other default panels on the right. You can move them around by dragging the title bar at the top. You can also dock one or more of these panels on the left or right side of the workspace by dragging it into place. So let's dock the Align panel on the right. Drag the Align panel by the tab onto the panel tab names docked on the right. When a blue highlight appears in the Properties panel group here, release the mouse button. The panel is now added to the group. To close the remaining panels left in the group, click the X in the corner. Now at some point, as you open, close, and rearrange a lot of these panels, you may want to reset them to their original locations. To do this, you can reset the entire workspace. In the application bar above the document, click Essentials and choose Reset Essentials to put all of the panels back to their default locations. Now if you see something else chosen in this menu, choose Essentials first, and then choose Reset Essentials. As a last step, you're finished with this practice file, so you can close it by coming up to the menu bar and choosing File, Close, without saving. Now that you're familiar with the Illustrator workspace and how to manage panels, going forward you'll be able to more easily organize panels in a way that complements your working style. When you create a new file or you make changes to an existing file in Illustrator, you'll need to save your work. So let's look at a few different ways to do that. If you want to follow along, you can open this document from the tutorial practice files. With the file open, let's save a copy of the file. So click the File menu up here above the document. And if this is a brand new document and you're saving it for the first time, you could choose Save. This isn't a new document, so you can't choose Save. We're going to save it somewhere else and give it a new name by choosing Save As. Now, when you first save a new file, or you choose Save As, you'll see this Cloud Document dialog box. In Illustrator on the desktop, you can save your document as an Adobe Cloud document or locally on your computer. Now, a Cloud document is an Illustrator document stored in the Adobe Cloud that can be accessed anywhere you sign into Illustrator. That includes Desktop Illustrator and Illustrator on the iPad. Saving as an Illustrator Cloud document or saving on your computer retains layers, type, and other editable Illustrator properties. Now, the extension for an Illustrator Cloud document is .aic for Adobe Illustrator Cloud. When it comes to Cloud documents, changes are automatically saved. You have access to document history, and you can work offline. In this case, you'll save your document locally on your computer. In this dialog box, click Save on your computer to save it to your computer. On the Save As dialog box that opens, you can switch to saving as a Cloud document by clicking the Save Cloud Document button here. This opens the dialog box for saving to the Adobe Cloud. If you want to save it locally, you can click on your computer, and you'll return to the Save As dialog box. Now, to save on your computer, you can choose a different location to save the file if you like. I'll keep it in the same folder. You can change the name, maybe by adding a hyphen and a version number at the end like this. That way you can make a copy and also keep the original. Make sure that Adobe Illustrator is the chosen format on macOS or Save as Type on Windows. When you save and work in Adobe Illustrator files, the file has a .ai extension, and everything is preserved so you can edit it later as you need. Click Save to save a copy of the file. Now, whenever you save a file for the first time or you save a document as a copy, you'll see this dialog box after saving. This dialog box may seem a little overwhelming. The settings in here actually allow you to save an Illustrator document to previous versions of Illustrator, among other more advanced options. Now, in many cases, you can simply click OK, which is what you can do now. So go ahead and click OK to save the file. Now, in order for someone else to open and view the Illustrator file you just saved, they'll need to have Illustrator. And if they can open a file with Illustrator, they can probably edit it. So at times, you may want to just send a visual copy of your file that anyone can view. You can do that by saving your document as a PDF. You can learn how to save as a PDF in the Share section of this Getting Started course. Being able to get around in your documents in Illustrator by zooming in and out and moving between artboards will make it much easier to create and edit your artwork. So to get more comfortable with navigating in your documents, you'll explore how to zoom in a document, and then you'll learn how to move or pan in the document window. You can open one of your own Illustrator files or this file from the practice files for this tutorial. And when you work in Illustrator, your content is on artboards. An artboard in Illustrator is similar to a page in Microsoft Word or Adobe InDesign. In this particular document, you'll see a series of artboards. You can have a lot of artboards in one document, and they can also be different sizes, maybe to design a postcard and a poster for the same client in a single document, which makes it easier to share assets and colors and different things across the different pieces you're creating. The first thing you'll do is select some artwork. So select the selection tool in the Tools panel on the left, and click on Artwork in this artboard. Once you do that, you should see a subtle black line around this particular artboard. That line tells you it's the active artboard, or the one that you're currently working on. To fit the active artboard in the document window, choose View, Fit Artboard in Window. This can help you focus on a particular artboard in your document. Now, suppose you're working on content on this artboard, and then you realize you need to edit artwork on another artboard. You can do that by panning or dragging within the document window with the hand tool. So in the Tools panel on the left, press and hold on the Zoom tool, and select the hand tool. Press and drag in the document window to move around. It's kind of like moving a piece of paper on your desk, but digitally. To see all the artboards and the artwork again, you can choose View, Fit All in Window. When working with more detailed artwork, sometimes you want to zoom in or make things appear larger. You can do this several ways. We'll begin by using the Zoom tool. First, let's make sure that nothing is selected. To do that, choose Select, Deselect. To select the Zoom tool in the Tools panel on the left, press and hold on the hand tool and select the Zoom tool. Then come out into the document window, and to zoom in, click once. Where you clicked is now in the center of the document window. Try clicking a few more times to zoom in closely. Now in the lower left corner, you should see this View menu. This is where you can see the current zoom level and also choose a different zoom level, all the way up to 64,000% to zoom in really closely to detailed artwork. From this menu, choose 100% if it isn't already selected, so you can see the artwork at 100% of its original size. Now to zoom out, which makes your artwork appear smaller so you can see more content at once, with the zoom tool selected, press the Option key on Mac or Alt key on Windows. You should see a minus sign in the zoom tool now. Click a few times to zoom out. Eventually, if you click enough times, you'll zoom out far enough to see everything. When you're finished, you can release the key. You can also use the View menu to zoom. Select the Selection tool again and click to select this logo. To zoom into the logo, choose View, Zoom in. It's just like clicking with the Zoom tool right on that logo. It's zooming in by a certain amount and centering the logo in the document window. Okay, so that you can see everything in your document again, choose View, Fit All in Window. Being able to navigate your documents by panning and zooming will be really important when you're working in Illustrator. It'll allow you to see more detailed artwork up close, for instance, or even take a step back to view the entire document. Adobe Illustrator is used for vector drawing, which means you use it to create shapes and different types of paths. In this video, you'll find out what a vector path is made of by using different tools to explore paths in this project file. You can open this practice file if you want to follow along. Start by selecting the Selection tool in the Tools panel on the left. Then come out to the artwork and click right on this line to select it. This is a straight path. Paths are composed of anchor points at the start and end of a simple path, with a path or line segment connecting those anchor points. In a path like this, the anchor points control the length and direction of the path. Now let's look at a curved path like you see here. Select the Zoom tool in the Tools panel on the left and drag across this path to zoom in. Then select the Selection tool in the Tools panel on the left and click right on the curved path above the line. When you select a path with the Selection tool, a bounding box surrounds the path, allowing you to resize, rotate, and transform the path as a whole. If you don't see this bounding box, choose View, Show Bounding Box to turn them on. Try dragging a corner of the box to see how it reshapes the path. In the Properties panel to the right of the document, you'll see the properties of the selected path. Notice that there's a stroke applied to this path but no fill. Click the fill color, make sure the swatches option is selected, and then select the color. I'll select this blue. Notice that the stroke doesn't completely surround the fill. This path is called an open path because the anchor points on the ends of the path are not connected. Now to remove that color fill, choose Edit, Undo Apply Swatch. If you want to edit a path by adjusting the curve, for instance, you would edit the anchor points. To see the anchor points that control this path, select the Direct Selection tool in the Tools panel on the left. The Direct Selection tool can be used to adjust the path and the individual anchor points. This can give you control over the shape of the path after you've created it. Move the pointer over the top anchor point of the curve. When you see the word Anchor, click to select the anchor point. You should see these lines coming from the anchor point now. These are called direction handles or control handles. Any anchor point you create can have these handles, and they can be used to curve a path and control the shape of that curve. Try dragging the end of a handle and you'll see that the curve of the path changes. The last type of path you'll look at are shapes. A shape, like a circle or a square, is a closed path, since the starting and ending points of the path are the same. In other words, all the anchor points are connected one to another in this shape. With the Direct Selection tool selected, click the edge of this circle shape to select it. You should see 4 anchor points that control the curve of the path. Move the pointer over one of the anchor points, and then click to select it. You'll see the direction handles that control the curve. Try dragging this anchor point to move it. Then drag the end of a direction handle and you'll see that the curve of the path changes. There are a lot of paths and shapes you can create in Illustrator, and all of them are made up of anchor points. paths, and when necessary, direction handles to create a curve. Understanding what paths are composed of is a great first step to creating and editing your own artwork in Illustrator. Adobe Illustrator has a variety of tools for drawing paths, including the pencil tool for creating fluid, beautiful curves and straight paths. To complete the artwork for this project, you'll start by drawing with the pencil tool, then set some pencil tool settings, and finally you'll finish the artwork for the ship out here. You can open this practice file if you want to follow along. With the file open, notice the ship artwork on the left. You'll add the final shapes to that ship using the pencil tool. So to zoom into part of it, select the zoom tool in the tools panel on the left and drag across the upper left part of the artboard with the ship on it to zoom in. To select the pencil tool and start drawing, press and hold on the paintbrush tool in the tools panel on the left. Then select the pencil tool from the menu that appears. Before you start drawing, you'll set a few properties. To set the stroke color and the stroke weight for the line you're about to draw, click the stroke color in the properties panel to the right. With the swatches selected, make sure that black is chosen. You can press escape to hide the colors. Also, make sure that the stroke weight is set to 1 here. In this case, the fill won't matter since it will be removed when you start drawing. To the left of the ship in a blank area, press and drag to create a curved path with the pencil tool. Drawing with the pencil tool is a lot like drawing with a pencil and paper. Even slight variations will show. To make paths you draw with the pencil tool smoother, you can edit the pencil tool settings. Double-click the pencil tool in the tools panel on the left, and the tool options appear in a dialog box. Now to make the paths you draw smoother, drag the top slider all the way over to smooth. This will affect any new paths you draw with the pencil tool. So click OK, and try drawing another curved path with the pencil tool. Notice that the path is smoother after you release the mouse button. Now you'll draw a part of the ship. You can follow these aqua guides as you draw if you like. Starting in the corner here, press and drag to begin drawing with the pencil tool and follow the aqua guides as best you can. When you return to the beginning of the path, a circle will show next to the pointer, meaning the path will be closed when you release the mouse button. So release the mouse button to close the path. You'll notice that this corner down here really isn't a corner. With the pencil tool, you can also redraw parts of a path, even paths not created with the pencil tool. To redraw part of a path, move the pointer onto the path. When the asterisk next to the pencil icon disappears, redraw part of the path you want, making sure to finish back on the existing path. There. To change the color fill of the shape, click the fill color in the properties panel to the right, make sure the swatches are selected, and select this tan color. Now you'll move in the document window to another part of the document. So press the spacebar to access the hand tool temporarily, and drag in the document window to see the aqua guides at the bottom of the artboard. Then release the spacebar. Next you'll draw this shape following the guides. This time you'll see how to draw a straight line with the pencil tool as you draw. So starting here before drawing, press the Option key on Mac or Alt key on Windows to begin drawing a straight line. When a line appears next to the pencil pointer, drag to create a straight line down to here. Without releasing the mouse button, release the key and continue drawing along the aqua guide. When you come to the top line of the aqua guide, with the mouse button still held down, press the Option key on Mac or Alt key on Windows and draw a straight line across the top. When the pointer reaches the starting point, a circle appears next to it. Release the mouse button and then the key to close the path. To set the fill color for the shape you just drew, click the fill color in the Properties panel and select this orange color. So that you can see all of the artwork, choose View, Fit All in Window. Now to complete this design, you're going to drag the ship onto the right artboard. So select the Selection tool, drag across the two paths you created, and press Backspace or Delete to remove them. Then, drag across all of the shapes to select them here. Drag one of the selected shapes to the artboard on the right, and there you go. Drawing with the pencil tool can be really fun, and it gives you a tool for creating fluid paths easily. Like with all the tools in Illustrator, take your time and practice creating in your own projects. The curvature tool in Illustrator is a great way to create vector artwork easily. You'll use it to create the guitar artwork you see over here on the right by drawing the paths that make up this guitar, and then assembling the shapes in the artboard on the right. If you'd like to follow along, you can open this file from the practice files for this tutorial. And with the file open, just to make sure that you can see all of the artwork, choose View, Fit All in Window. You'll start by zooming into the first area where you'll begin drawing. So select the Zoom tool in the Tools panel on the left, and drag across this purple area on the left to zoom in. You'll begin by drawing the body of the guitar here. So select the Curvature tool in the Tools panel on the left. The Curvature tool is used to create paths by clicking to set anchor points. Before you start drawing though, in the Properties panel to the right, you'll change some appearance settings. So click the Fill Color, make sure the Swatches option is selected, and choose None so you can remove the fill while you draw. You can then press Escape to hide the colors. And then make sure the stroke weight is set to 1. These will be the fill and stroke settings for the artwork you're about to draw. Now the circles in the document out here indicate where you will click to set anchor points for a path. So starting at the top, click to create the first anchor point. After you release the mouse button, move the pointer to the next circle and click to create another anchor point. After you release the mouse button again, move the pointer away and notice that a curved path is created between these 2 points. Move the pointer around to get a feeling for how it's creating the curve. Then come to the next point and click to set it. Then move the pointer away again. As you draw with the curvature tool, you can edit the anchor points you've already drawn, even moving them, adding more, or deleting them. Come to the previous point you created and move the pointer over it. Click to select it. Drag that point to see how you can move them and reshape the path. Then drag it back where it was. Click to create the next point and continue clicking to create the points all the way around this shape. To close the path, move the pointer over the first point you created, and when a circle appears next to the pointer, click to close the path and finish drawing this shape. Now you can also create straight lines with the curvature tool, which is what you'll do next to create the neck of this guitar. So come over here and click to set the first anchor point. Then click to set the next point in the corner to the right and move the pointer away. Notice that the path has a curve. Now to make this path straight, move the pointer over the last anchor point you created and double click on it. Then move the pointer away. The paths are now straight. You can also work faster by double clicking to create a point and make a straight line at the same time. So come to where the next point will go down here and double click to create an anchor point with a straight path. Then double click to create the next point. Come back to the original point you created and double click to close the path and finish drawing with a straight line. Paths you create with any of the drawing tools can also be edited with the curvature tool. To see artwork that you'll edit, press the space bar to temporarily access the hand tool, and then drag in the document window so that you can see the orange area below. Release the space bar. To zoom into this orange area, select the zoom tool and drag across it. This shape needs a curve at the bottom, not a straight line. So next you'll add a new point and reposition it with the curvature tool. First you need to select the path. Select the selection tool in the Tools panel and click the edge of the shape to select it. Then select the curvature tool again in the Tools panel. Now with the shape selected, move the pointer over the bottom path. When a plus sign appears next to the pointer, click to add a point. Then drag that new point down to give the bottom of the shape some curve. Deleting a point is just as easy. You can actually click to select a point with the curvature tool and press backspace or delete to remove it. To finish the artwork, you'll drag all of the shapes you created into place. To see everything, choose View, Fit All in Window. Select the selection tool and drag each of these shapes by their edges, since they don't have a fill, into position on the right. With the curvature tool, practice makes perfect. Keep using it, and you'll be able to create all kinds of paths and shapes for your own artwork. Once you create artwork in Illustrator, you'll inevitably need to edit it. Using the artwork in this practice file, you'll select and move anchor points on paths using the Direct Selection tool, and then you'll learn how to reshape paths, and then edit paths with the Curvature tool. You'll start by selecting and editing this circle. So select the Zoom tool in the Tools panel on the left so you can zoom into it, and drag across the circle shape. If you want to resize or rotate or otherwise transform a shape like this circle, you would select it with the Selection tool in the Tools panel. Now to see and edit the anchor points for a path, select the Direct Selection tool in the Tools panel on the left, and then click the edge of the circle. The anchor points that make up the shape will appear. You'll learn about the parts of the path in the first video in this section, Understanding Paths and Curves. Click one of the anchor points and move the pointer away. You can tell an anchor point is selected because it's filled with a color. Then move the pointer back over that anchor point and drag it to see how it affects the shape. You can try that for any of the points in the shape. Now you'll work on paths at the top of the artboard. At times you'll need to pan and zoom in a document to work on different parts. To do that, you'll access the hand tool. So press the space bar, drag in the document window, and pan across to see the top of the guitar at the top of the artboard. Then release the space bar. If you need to zoom out a little bit, you can choose View, Zoom Out. Now the Direct Selection tool can also select and adjust paths. So move the pointer over a path and click to select it. With the pointer over the path, you'll see this curved arrow, which means you can reshape the path by dragging. So drag this curved path to try to reshape it. Now you'll move to another part of the artwork and see how dragging a straight path works. Press the space bar to access the hand tool again. Drag in the document window so you can see the path with the straight line down here. Then release the space bar. Move the pointer over the edge of this shape and click to select it. Like the path above, you can drag the curved parts of this path to reshape them as well. But move the pointer over this straight path, drag the path, and notice that it moves as a straight line. This method moves the path instead of reshaping it since it's not curved. Drag that path up just a little bit to reshape it. Now you'll go back up to the top of the guitar to start editing with the Curvature tool. So press the space bar to access the hand tool, drag in the document window to pan to the top of the guitar, then release the space bar. If you find yourself with a path or shape that needs editing, and moving anchor points or reshaping paths isn't enough, you can create, delete, and edit anchor points using the Curvature tool. Select the Curvature tool in the Tools panel on the left. Then click on this path to select it, and you'll see the anchor points for this path. Now to convert a path from a curve to a straight line or the other way around, you can double-click an existing anchor point with the Curvature tool. So move the pointer over this anchor point and double-click to make the paths straight. To completely change the shape of the path, like in this area, you can even add or delete anchor points. Move the pointer over the edge of the path, and when a plus appears, click to add a new anchor point. Try dragging that anchor point to reshape the path. When you're finished, move the pointer down the path a bit and add another anchor point by clicking. Drag that new anchor point to reshape the path. To deselect everything, choose Select, Deselect. And then to see all the artwork, choose View, Fit Artboard and Window. Now that you know some methods for editing paths, you'll be able to make changes to paths in your own artwork, whether it's fine-tuning a logo design or editing artwork for signage, and a whole lot more. Sometimes in Illustrator, when you make paths, you need to connect them together, like these two paths. An easy way to do this is to select those paths, then you can choose Object, Path, Join. Illustrator finds the closest two ends of the paths and connects them with a straight line. This is now a single path. If you were to apply the Join command again, it would connect the other ends and make it a shape. Now, say you have two paths where the ends are actually overlapping. If you select them and join those paths, the two endpoints become one, and the path is now a single path. So let's try it. In this icon, we want to take all these separate paths and join them so they look like this. Let's start here. We want these two paths to be connected, like you see over here in the final. So with the Selection tool, drag it across them. To join them, choose Object, Path, Join. A straight path now connects the closest ends of the paths. Let's keep going. To join the two paths here, select them both by shift-clicking the second path. To join them, choose Object, Path, Join. They're now one path, and the overlapping points are now one connected point. Now, to complete the logo design, you need to join the paths together at these different spots. Now, the order won't matter, but which paths are selected will. So we'll join this path to this path. Shift-click the smaller path and join them. You're now left with three paths. So shift-click this path and join them. And finally, shift-click this path to select it as well. And hopefully you're getting used to the join command going up there in the menus, but this time you're going to use a keyboard command to make it faster. Press Command and J on Mac or Control and J on Windows to join the two ends. And you're done. To finish and round the ends of the paths so it looks like the final, you can click the word stroke over here in the Properties panel and select this round cap option. Let's try joining some other artwork down here at the bottom of the artboard. So press the spacebar and drag up in the document window with the hand tool if you need to. You're going to take this curved path right here and copy it, flip it, and then join the two together to make an eye shape. So select the curved path. To copy it, choose Edit, Copy. And then to paste the copy in the same place, choose Edit, Paste in Front. Now you'll flip it. In the Properties panel, click the Flip Vertically button here. Okay, now to get it into position. We want the endpoints of these two paths to overlap. So click away from this path to deselect it. We're deselecting so we can drag the path by the end without reshaping it accidentally. Drag the path copy by its end so that the end aligns with the end of the original path, like this. You'll see the cursor turn white when they're aligned, so you can let go then. If you don't feel the snapping and see a white cursor, turn on Snap to Point so the points can snap and align to each other, and then try it again. Okay, with the paths ready, select them both, and we can join them. Press Command J on Mac or Control J on Windows, and you got it. What's crazy is Illustrator connected both ends of these paths using that single join command. You're done. It's now a closed shape. All right, to finish the logo and add some color, you're going to fill the shape with black. So click the fill color over here in the Properties panel. Make sure the swatches are selected, and then click to apply this black color. So you can see everything, choose View, Fit Artboard and Window. Now you know how to connect paths with the join command. In Illustrator, when you create a document that has multiple pages, like a brochure or a multi-page web design, you can create a series of artboards so you have an artboard for each page. In this video, you'll explore what artboards are and how to navigate a document with multiple artboards. Open this file from the practice files for this tutorial if you want to follow along. Now to make sure you see everything in the document, choose View, Fit All in Window. When you create a document in Illustrator, by default, you start with one artboard. Like pages in Adobe InDesign or Microsoft Word, artboards define the area that can be printed. You'll notice in this document that artboards can be different sizes and even different orientations. You can also arrange them how you want, even overlapping them. Now the large gray area surrounding the artboards is called a canvas area. This is useful for content that might not be printed or exported. Maybe an alternate image or artwork like icons you may need later. With multiple artboards in a document, you'll need to know how to navigate between them quickly and easily. So we'll start by talking about some view commands for artboards. Select the selection tool in the Tools panel and click Artwork in the first artboard on the left. Notice this really small black line surrounding the artboard. That indicates that this artboard is the active artboard. In other words, the artboard you're working on. To fit the active artboard into the document window, choose View, Fit Artboard in Window. Using view commands like Fit Artboard in Window or Fit All in Window is one way to navigate between artboards. But you can also navigate artboards using the Properties panel on the right. To make sure that no artwork is selected, choose Select, Deselect. With nothing selected, you can see an artboard menu that shows a list of all of the artboards in the document. To move between artboards, you can either choose the number assigned to an artboard from the menu here, or click the next or previous arrows. The artboard you select is fit into the document window. Now, a faster method for navigating your artboards, no matter what's selected in the document, is the Artboard Navigation menu, which you can see here below the document in the lower left corner. Click the menu to see the same listing of artboards you saw in the Properties panel, along with the name assigned to each artboard. Choose Business Card Front to see that artboard and fit it in the document window. So that you can see all of your artboards again, choose View, Fit All in Window. When you understand artboards and know how to navigate between them quickly, working with all kinds of projects in Illustrator, from catalogs and brochures to multi-page websites and more, gets a whole lot easier. When you work on a project in Illustrator that has multiple pages, whether it's a brochure, a document that contains multiple versions of a poster, or something else, you'll need to add artboards. In this practice file, which you can open if you want to follow along, you'll learn how to enter artboard editing mode, create a new artboard with the artboard tool, then set a few options for artboards, like changing their names. With this practice file open so you can see everything, choose View, Fit All in Window. Then, so you can see more of the gray area to the right of the artboards because you're going to draw an artboard out there, you'll zoom out. Choose View, Zoom Out a few times. The artwork you see on the left is in the gray canvas area. Canvas area is outside the area that's printed and exported, so it's a great place to put content you may need later. You'll create a new artboard for that content so that it can be printed or saved as a PDF, for instance. To make sure that nothing is selected, choose Select, Deselect. Now to create artboards, first click Edit Artboards in the Properties panel to the right of the document. This initiates artboard editing mode and selects the artboard tool in the Tools panel on the left. The artboard tool is used to both create and edit artboards. Another way to enter this artboard editing mode is to simply select the artboard tool. Now to create a new artboard, click and drag to the far right of the artboards. Notice the gray measurement label showing the width and height as you draw. When it's about this size, release the mouse button. Once it's created, it's selected. You can tell because it's got this dotted line and handles surrounding it. Now to resize the artboard, you can drag any corner or an edge of the artboard. You can also create artboards of a specific size, maybe to design a printed poster or an app for a specific device size. With this artboard still selected, make sure it's far enough away from the artboards to the left of it. If you need to, drag it over so it looks like this. In the Properties panel to the right of the document, you can enter custom width and height values here for the artboard. But you can also choose preset sizes. Click the Preset menu to reveal preset artboard sizes you can choose from. Choose Letter to transform the artboard you drew into a letter-sized artboard. You can also change the orientation of the artboard to Portrait or Landscape. Make sure that Portrait is selected. Now to better keep track of your different artboards when you have a lot of them, you can name them something that makes sense to you. Select the name in the Properties panel and type Flyer. Then press Return or Enter to accept the name. Now to move the artboard next to the orange postcard, drag in the center of the artboard. You can move the artboards where they make sense to you. Now you'll move this content on the left onto the new artboard so that it can be printed. To stop editing artboards, click Exit at the top of the Properties panel. Another way to exit artboard editing mode is to select another tool in the Tools panel. Now by default, after exiting artboard editing mode, the selection tool should be selected in the Tools panel. Drag this green rectangle into the upper left corner of the new artboard. To resize it so it stretches across the artboard, drag the lower right corner of the rectangle to make it bigger, snapping the corner into the lower right corner of the artboard. Then drag this logo content over here, roughly into the center of the artboard as well. In Illustrator, adding artboards of different sizes, orientations, and more to your documents makes it simpler and faster to create and edit all kinds of multi-page projects, from a brochure to a document with several versions of signage, an app, or a poster even. In Illustrator, as you create all kinds of different projects for print, mobile, and web, you'll need to edit artboards. Maybe copying an artboard to make a new version of existing artwork, or resizing an artboard to match print specifications. In this video, you'll learn how to edit existing artboards and then duplicate an artboard. You can open this file from the practice files for this tutorial if you'd like to follow along. To make sure that you can see everything in the document, choose View, Fit All in Window. To start, select the Artboard tool in the Tools panel on the left. You can see the different artboards in the document, indicated by the name in the corner of each and the dotted box around the active or selected artboard. Suppose you need to resize an artboard, maybe to match a paper size on your desktop printer. Click in the first artboard with the green background if it isn't already selected. You can tell it's selected because of the dotted box and handle surrounding it. Now to resize it, move the pointer over the bottom edge and drag when you see arrows. As you drag, you'll see a width and height in the gray label next to the pointer. This is a part of Smart Guides. When it's about the size you see here, release the mouse button. Notice that the artboard changed in size while the artwork stayed the same. You can also set an artboard to a preset size. With the artboard still selected, click the preset option in the Properties panel to the right, and in this case, choose Letter. Move the pointer into the artboard and drag it up, aligning it as best you can to the artboard to the right. Notice that as you drag the artwork moves with it, but you still need to move and resize this artwork to fit better on the artboard. To do that, you'll stop editing the artboards. So click the Exit button at the top of the Properties panel. With the Selection tool selected, drag across the artwork on this artboard to selected. Then drag it down, roughly into the center of the artboard. To deselect everything, click in a blank area. You still need to resize the green rectangle to fit the artboard, so click the green rectangle to select it, press and hold the Option key on Mac or the Alt key on Windows, and drag the middle point on the bottom of the shape down to make the shape as large as the artboard. When it's the right size, release the mouse button and then the key. Pressing the Option or Alt key resizes the artwork from the center. Click in a blank area to deselect it. You can also duplicate artboards, maybe to make a version of a design with a different color background. Select the Artboard tool in the Tools panel on the left, then press the Option key on Mac or Alt key on Windows, and with the pointer over the artboard, click and drag down to make a copy. When it's in place here, release the mouse button and then the key. To see all of the artboards again, choose View, Fit All in Window. With the new artboard selected, in the Properties panel to the right of the document, change the name to Letterhead 2. Press Return or Enter to make the change. To stop editing artboards, click the Exit button at the top of the Properties panel. Now you'll edit the artwork on the new artboard. So with the Selection tool selected, click the green background shape on the new artboard. To change the color, click the Fill Color in the Properties panel, make sure the swatches are selected, and select an orange color. Being able to edit artboards, whether by resizing them, duplicating them, changing artboard options, or other, gives you creative flexibility to design all kinds of different projects in Illustrator.